Avalanche of tributes today, it clearly shows that the demise of your late patriarch and icon, his sweat on earth, definitely were not in vain. From the North Central, the very powerful remembrance by Senator Lalong of what I said he did when he was a federal commissioner. And even the proposition he brought forward of the handshake across the Niger that united our people, which is still on today in the minds of the people, clearly shows that the efforts that he made were and could never have been in vain. I'm saying this because I understand that just yesterday, one of the presidential aspirants in the last election, Peter Obi, His Excellency and former governor of Anambra, said that the labors of our leaders who have passed on were in vain. They were not in vain. The mere fact that Nigeria is still standing together shows clearly that their labors were not in vain. Very few countries that came up with the size of Nigeria are still together today. Many have been fragmented. Edwin Clark lived through the days of USSR, and they scattered into various countries. And up till now, there is still war, trying to see whether they can come back together. Nigeria, despite our difficulties, God has kept us together because of the voices of people like Edwin Clark. So clearly, his labor and labors were not in vain. And for those in the social media who like to tweet, Nigeria has an unregulated social media system. So they let them wallow in it and then take a disadvantaged situation and propagate all sorts of falsehood and all sorts of narratives. Some of them in the social media were not even born when Edwin Clark was very active in service. And so they couldn't have known some of the things he did that we are remembering today. And yet, when somebody makes a statement that the labors of our heroes past are in vain, I beg to disagree. Let our brother Peter Obi show leadership like Edwin Clark did by resolving first the crisis in the Labour Party. For a man who wants to run Nigeria, you have one of the smallest parties in Nigeria, and you cannot even resolve the crisis in that Labour Party. Is it the crisis of Boko Haram that you will come and resolve in Nigeria? I would like us to be known for what we did when we had the opportunities. As I speak now, I can tell you about the dualized thoroughfares in my state. I can tell about the flyovers in my state. I can tell about the best international hospital in my state. I can tell you about the monuments of government houses that are built, both for the governor and deputy. I'm one of the best digitalized governor's office in Nigeria. I can tell you about the best international stadium in West Africa. I can tell you about the free and compulsory education that I did for all Nigerians. I can tell you about the unity I brought in religion by sponsoring over 5,800 Muslims to the Holy Land and over 12 to 15,000 Christians to Rome and to Jerusalem. But then, those who are aspiring as presidential candidates and trying to cause division with their mouths, using the social media, tell them to resolve the small crisis in the smallest party they have in Nigeria first, before they come to talk about the larger Nigeria. But for the social media, it is unregulated. I wish you luck as you have a field day. I'm saying this because this is what Edwin Clark would have advised if he were alive. So I've started to speak his voice. May his soul rest in perfect peace. And on that note, may we rise to observe 1 minute silence in honor of this icon. Let me before we do so, just to recognize that while we're speaking, the leader of the House of Representatives, our brother, walked in from Niger Delta region, Professor Julius Ihombe. Leader, we are happy to see you, even though you are staying at the back. You should have come to the front. And of course, I didn't see him, but I've been told that right in front of us, that we have the leader of the Ijaw Nation, Professor Benjamin Okaba, who is the President General of Ijaw Nation. Okay, he's there. He's acknowledging Ijaw National Congress worldwide, not just for Nigeria, but all over the world. And I'm happy that you are part of this delegation. But we now, all together, give 1 minute silence in honor of this our departed icon.
That we are praising ourselves. But I want to place on record, and especially for those who continue to criticize us unnecessarily. I use the word unnecessarily, Mr. President, because in a democracy it is normal for those who have sought public mandate and were elected into office to be criticized. We are not opposed to that. But when people deliberately falsify things about us, when people deliberately try to call us out as people who do not know, even as a Senate, we set up our own committee of seasoned senators who had engaged in various aspects of public life. Some had served as governors, some served as permanent secretaries, some served as honorable ministers, and from different walks of life, to even be able to advise ourselves. Let it also be said that we chose not to grandstand on this. And the fact that in rounding up yesterday, we spent more than half of the day holding a closed-door session. Why are we doing all of this? It is because we recognize that the times are hard for our people. The times are unusual for our country and for the global economy. And we chose to also remind ourselves constantly that this is not the time to grandstand. This is the time that as a parliament, we must do everything possible to cooperate with other arms of government in overriding public interest to ensure that we are able to give the necessary impetus and the legal framework to good governance in this country. We are very clear as to our mandate and our agenda, and we will remain undetracted and not allow any form of negative attitude or deliberate shenanigan, which in most parts are politically motivated rather than being in overriding public interest, to distract us. We will continue to do what we have to do in the interest of the Nigerian people who elected us here, and we are not going to allow anything to distract us, not even us distracting ourselves. We will come in here as serious people who understand our rules, who will guide ourselves by those rules, who know that we are privileged to be part of an institution. The Senate is an institution and is bigger than any individual. I thank you once again, Mr. President, on behalf of all of us, and I'm sure you know that those who felt, I'm sure you know, sir, that those who felt that by now this Senate would have asked you to step down, I've seen now that we are focused on what we are doing, and it doesn't matter whatever the level of allegation against you, any one of us, we will always ask for evidence, and we will do what is in overriding public interest. I just want to thank you, and I thank all our colleagues.